And this is something that I heard about this man who was asking money in a corner. You know, we see these people all over the city. He was asking for money, was stopping the cars, asking for money. And I heard that there was this woman driving this fancy car. She lowered the window and gave the beggar $1. And she said to him, and by the way, I'm not giving you this because you deserve it. I'm giving you this $1 because it brings me joy. And the man said, well, in that case, give me $20 and you can thoroughly enjoy yourself. So I want to talk to you today about look beyond the lesion. Look beyond the lesion. Lesion, something that happens to you, you know, a lesion. Lesion. Affliction. Injury. Wow. Lesion. Thank you. And I believe this is something very important as we prepare ourselves for Pesach. In fact, one of the things that they tell you at rabbinical school is that the sermons you deliver before Pesach, they have to be somehow connected, especially between Purim and Pesach, because the same way that we prepare our homes for Pesach, you know, we start getting rid of the chametz little by little, and as we approach, we intensified that process of cleaning up the house. So the same way we have to do the same with ourselves. We have to start cleaning up ourselves in the sense that we have to start eliminating everything that is enslaving us in this modern world. And we learn, come on, this is probably not the first Passover that you're going to celebrate. That for most of you, I mean, I never know, but we always learn that slavery is not just the physical pharaoh with a whip. We have many different kind of things that they enslave us in life. Surprisingly, most of the things that they enslave us has nothing to do with physical things. It has to do with things inside ourselves. So, in this week's Parsha, and we are going to continue next week, we are reading about the Metzorah, or the Tzarat. Sometimes translated into leprosy, but you will see that it was probably not necessarily leprosy, okay? But that's not the point. It says that if you have any kind of lesion in your skin, you have to go and see the priest. Okay, you know what? So, because I don't like how I pronounce it, let's use the Hebrew. It's nega. Nega. That's the Hebrew word, okay? If you have any kind of nega in your body, you have to go see the priest. And the way it says in the Torah that the priest should examine you is very funny, very interesting. It says, Vera'ah hakohen et hanega, and in the same verse, towards the end, it says, Vera'ahu hakohen. Vera'ah hakohen et hanega, it means the priest shall look at the nega, and then it says, and the priest, the kohen, shall look at it. So it's presented twice. And this is always interesting in the Torah when something is repeated, especially when it's repeated in the same verse. Because we all know that the Torah usually is all the opposite. It doesn't give us enough information. And now all of a sudden, the same Torah is repeating words. And necessarily suspicious. Very suspicious. My son will say, you look sus. That's what the kids say in this way. You look sus. The Torah looks sus here. Why would it repeat these words? Well, the rabbi said, look again. Because here, the Torah is talking about two different things. First, it says, Vera'ah hakohen et hanega. And the Kohen should examine, should look at the nega. And then he said, Vera'ah hu hakohen. The Kohen should look, not at the nega, at the person that is having the nega. And this is something very interesting because this is something that happened to all of us, that sometimes we look at the nega, but we don't look at the person. And many times we judge people based on their own nega for whatever they are going through. So, for example, we will say, he's a gambler. He's an addict. He's a failure. But that's looking at the nega without looking at the person. The right attitude should be, no, he's not a gambler. He gambles, but he's a person. He's a human being. He's image of God. He's not an addict. He does drugs, but he's a person, an image of God. And let me tell you this. You are not a failure. You may have failed, but you're not a failure. You're still image of God. You're still a whole person. So this parsha, yes, it's talking about the nega tzarat. It's talking about maybe some skin condition, but the principle, it goes beyond that. It's teaching us something very important. It's teaching us how to look at other people. And it's teaching us to be able to look beyond the nega and never to judge people just for what they do, forgetting there is a whole history and lives are way more complex for what we see in front of us. And we should learn to look beyond the nega and to discover that there is a human being in front of us. But in the same way that we judge others this way, we have to learn to apply the same principle to our own lives, because that's the same way that we judge ourselves. As I mentioned before, never think that you are a failure. I met many people during my years first as a cantor and then as a rabbi, that they will have anxiety problems or they will have depression based on the way they judge themselves. They judge themselves so harshly for what they did or didn't do that they feel that they cannot continue moving forward. And then I tell them what I'm about to tell you. The problem is that you're judging yourself for something you did and you forget to see the bigger picture. It doesn't matter what you did or you didn't do. You are still loved by God, and because you're still Tselem Elohim, you're still a child of God and you are image of God. So the Torah is warning the priest here to be very careful, because it says that as soon as the priest analyzes the nega, if it happens to be tzarat, the Kohen have to utter the word tameh, impure, with all the consequences that will carry. So the Torah said, be very careful how you judge a person, and be very careful what you say to other people or even to yourself after that judgment, because those words that come after that can change other people's life or your life forever. So I believe that it's amazing that every year we read this parsha before Pesach as a preparation for Pesach. Because one of the things that get us enslaved and doesn't allow us to keep moving forward in our lives is the way we judge others and the way we judge ourselves. So, you want to start preparing yourself for Pesach? You want to start preparing yourself to break free from everything that is bringing you down? The first thing you have to do is to learn to judge others and yourself differently. Not based on what they do, but based on what they are. And if we can realize that we are all image of God, if you can realize that you are the image of God and you have that potential, you have that seed of divinity inside yourself, doesn't matter what you did or didn't do, you will be empowered to keep moving forward, and you can break free from that feeling that you're a failure, because you're not a failure. You may have failed in the past, but you still have your entire life to keep doing great things and to continue moving forward towards your divine destiny. So I hope you can add that cleaning up of our mindset to our Pesach preparation and get rid of all the chametz at home, but also get rid of that very negative mindset.